Hello, welcome to Sideways. I've got no idea what the topic of this week's episode is, but I was in the garden and can you hear all those birds? I was listening to the birds and I remembered how much so many listeners enjoy the bird song at the beginning of episodes more than they seem to the episodes themselves. So I thought I'd treat you to some wonderful bird song while I'm playing football in the garden with the dog. Can you hear her? Oh, she's not making a noise now. Anyway, this week's episode will be much like the previous 178 odd, but with a different topic. Hello, it's me again, from the hammock. What we're actually covering this week is the difficulty we have in dealing with compliments and why it makes us feel awkward and embarrassed. There's some squirrel talk, a debate about whether dressing like an elderly person is an inevitable stage we all reach, sheep on drugs, wonky pictures, and we bore you for a couple of minutes talking about loose-leaf tea. But you had all that lovely bird song at the start, so don't complain. Receiving compliments.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
You all right?
Yeah. You all right?
I'm all good, actually. Thank you very much.
That's a very nice coloured top you've got on this morning.
It's sort of a lightish green, isn't it?
Nice. Is that the official colour?
I don't know what the official colour was, mate.
It's probably something like, actually I can't think of any fancy blues now.
No, but it's a bit like the paints you buy from the shop, isn't it?
Is it a Farrow and Ball shirt?
I don't think it is. That'd be way too expensive and terrible quality. But I'm not going to snag them off in case they're listening.
Yeah, sorry I've got a dog on my lap.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah, I thought Daisy was just joining in the fun.
It's Nellie, that is.
Oh, was it Nellie?
Yeah.
Gone again.
She's watching for the squirrels across the road. Oh, she's gone. She's absolutely obsessed with them.
As all dogs should be.
Well, she particularly so. And of course, as there is a plentiful supply of nuts around at this time of year.
Of course, yeah.
They're gathering nuts and it sends her, frankly, crazy.
Crazy, yeah. We've got a nice little albino one that runs around in the gardens here, which is rather nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
What's his name?
I haven't got a name for it. They don't really come to names either, do they? You can't call them.
True.
Anyway, should we stop dripping on and get on with what we've come here to do?
Okay, yeah, if you want.
Well, I was going to do one. The heading was my notes are just called compliments, which has been on the list for some time. And initially, I put it on there because I've been having a discussion about someone else that seemed always it was really difficult for them to give compliments. I think
compliments.
To give them, yeah. This is where this was my initial thought.
Okay.
But then, so I thought I'll put it on the list and thought it'd be quite an interesting one to think about. But then, a much more relevant way of looking at it, especially with relevance to this podcast, is that look at the reasons why that we have great difficulty in accepting compliments. The reason I thought it would be more relevant because it always comes up in groups. People do feel quite uncomfortable about it. I'll come on to that later, perhaps. But
you included.
Me included, absolutely right. Yeah, yeah. But before we start, do you remember we talked about a few episodes ago about the seagulls that used to swoop down and nick people's joints while they were rolling them up at the seaside in Morecambe and stuff? Yeah,
I remember it well. In fact, one of the reasons I remember it is because I clipped that little excerpt and put it on TikTok, and it's the most viewed clip I've ever had.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it had about 5,000 views the last time I looked.
Did it? And that was because it was quite a comic thing, wasn't it? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, this is leading on from that, really. But there was a story about some sheep in Greece. They were trying to find shelter from Storm Daniel, and they broke into this greenhouse and they munched their way through 600 pounds of medical marijuana. Okay, so apparently they acted really strangely. They were running around jumping higher than goats. Apparently,
really?
But yeah, I mean, it's strange because I thought it would have chilled them right out. But
no, I was thinking that. I would have thought they would more likely put on some Pink Floyd.
Yeah, that's right. Sit down and discuss it.
Yeah, lay around
discussing the
in
colour of the
field,
colour of the
discussing it
trees.
and drinking red wine.
Exactly. Well, that sort of thing. But no, apparently they leapt around. But they're all okay though. So luckily,
Did they all survive? None of them.
yeah, no harm was done. I think the farmer took them all off to Narcotics Anonymous. He herded them down there, and they're all okay now.
Can you imagine if you went to an NA meeting and there were a load of sheep sitting in there? You'd think you were tripping, wouldn't you?
You would, yeah. Well, they certainly were. But anyway.
I mean, this is it's a tenuous link, but I'll ask you something I was thinking about this morning. I was driving back with the dogs this morning. I've taken them for a walk, and I saw this guy. There was this guy crossing the road, presumably to go to the coffee shop. He was elderly, let's put it that way, and wearing what I would consider to be typically elderly man's clothing, i.e., trousers with an elasticated waist.
Okay.
And shoes with Velcro fastening.
All easily put on and taken off, yeah.
Exactly. And my question was this, and I couldn't answer it myself, that's why I'm asking you. At what point does a man decide to move into elasticated waists and Velcro fastened shoes?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes I put tracksuit trousers on when I get home and they're elasticated.
No, we're talking, you know what I mean. We're talking elasticated, a leisure trouser.
Okay.
Possibly crimpline.
Okay.
Polyester.
Yeah.
And those easy slip-on shoes that have a sort of Velcro flap that go across them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're not talking jogging bottoms here. We're talking elderly people's clothing. And I don't know at what point suddenly you get up in the morning, you think, tell you what I need.
That'd be a good look.
Some elasticated crimpline flares and a nice pair of Velcro fastening shoes. Because whenever I want to head it off. Yeah, I don't want that happening.
No, I'd like to think I'd never get there.
Right.
But I suspect probably 70s.
Well, okay. That's exactly where I was. I thought I was going to be kind of 70s. And then I thought, I bet Mick Jagger doesn't dress like that.
Well, no, because I think there's still a style element involved. Right. Even at that age, I think you still be conscious about it. Probably the people that wear them.
So we've got a chance. So we've got a chance then of avoiding it.
Yeah, I think so. So subject matter. Talking about people that can't take compliments, and we talked just at the intro there about people that can't give them, which was just. Have you come across? I know in the corporate world, I used to come across quite bad managers who used to be terrible at giving compliments.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one of the guys that when I was back in my Standard Life days, we're all on the sales force, and one of the guys come running back in. He'd just done this really, really great deal, and he hadn't done any business for a while. He'd come back in and done a really great deal, and the manager said to him, yeah, that's all right, but one swallow doesn't make a summer, and turned his back and walked off. And
wow.
I could see this bloke looking really deflated. All he wanted was the manager to say, "Oh, that's brilliant news. Yeah, let's crack on. We look forward to getting the next one in." But no, and I thought
we've spoken about it in the past, haven't we? About how that kind of can happen in childhood, where you have parents that aren't fulsome with their praise, and if you get a 9 out of 10 on a spelling test, they'll ask what happened to the one that you didn't get right. It's that same sort of thing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But the subject which comes up often in groups is about the compliment situation, and it's often as an example, as you probably know, when people give up drink and drugs to a certain extent, they look so much better quite quickly. Their appearance starts to change quite dramatically quite early on, and a lot of times we hear people say, "Oh, you look so much better than you did last week when I saw you." And you can see people bristle, and the reason they say it, and often they'll say, "Well, how did I look before then? Did I look really crap?" So they'd look at it as really negatively rather than a positive compliment. Because I try and be really careful now, especially with people in early recovery if I'm running groups, so I don't try and make them feel uncomfortable. You have to be quite diplomatic when you're paying compliments. And when I was looking at the research regarding this, and the studies show that nearly 70% of people associated feelings of embarrassment or discomfort with recognition or receiving a compliment, which is quite a high amount, isn't it? Really. And
was that research done? Was it globally? Because I wonder if there's also a cultural element to that.
Yeah, no, it was done in the UK.
Yeah. You see, I think culturally we struggle.
We do, yeah.
With accepting compliments, we struggle with praise. We struggle to give it and receive it.
Yeah.
Generally, yeah.
Yeah, we do. We do. And there's several reasons they gave for this that I wanted to look at. It's not particularly for those people in recovery, but it is obviously relevant. The first one was about having low self-esteem. Now, obviously, we know in recovery, when you first go into the self-esteem is on the floor. So I can understand why people are going to be bristly about receiving compliments. Because, I mean, it talked about it. If you somehow think you're flawed or believe you aren't good enough, you might have trouble understanding why others think such kind of things about you. And also that leads on to sometimes you may think the other person's lying, which can lead you to mistrust them.
Yeah, it's like if someone pays you a compliment, you think either you're just saying that, or what are you after?
Yeah, I think there's an agenda. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, as you said, it doesn't. It's not congruent with the view that we hold of ourselves.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
So it goes back to that phrase that I've used before on here, which is it's impossible to love someone who doesn't love themselves.
And that's very true.
So that compliment is it's like an expression of love. It's an expression of appreciation. But if that expression of appreciation comes towards someone who doesn't appreciate themselves, then there's something there's a disconnect, isn't there?
There is. And that leads into the next point, really, is where your self-image doesn't line up with the compliment you're being given. When someone say, why do you look so much better? In your own mind, or when you look in the mirror, you don't see that. And so it doesn't line up. And so you get this dissonance, which is why you have trouble then taking that compliment on board.
Yeah, there's also, if someone points something out to you that they feel, or that they particularly appreciate, or they feel you're particularly good at, you may not see yourself in that way. So, for example, you might think about all the ways in which that particular thing could be improved. I could be so much better than I am. And so that will also cause you to push it back, because the person who's paying you the compliment is seeing the good in what has happened, and you're seeing everything that could be better or wasn't good enough, or,
Yeah, I think we can also come across people from time to time that despite rejecting the compliment, deep down they're loving it, and it is boosting their ego. But they brush it off in a sort of an arrogant sort of way.
That's like a false modesty, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Oh, it was nothing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But actually, that's similarly damaging, because there's, in a sense, you're only partially letting that through.
Yeah.
And the other thing you're doing is you're depriving the person who's paying you the compliment of feeling good about it.
You are. I don't want to come on to that part of that as well. And because another one of the reasons that came up in the research is people's desire to be humble. If you react to a compliment by saying, if someone says, "Oh, that's really good," you say, "Yeah, I know," all arrogant. That comes across as you being a bit of a knob, and I don't think that doesn't do anyone any good either, does it?
No, I mean that's an expression. I suppose that's an example of moving from one end of the scale to the other. If you completely reject a compliment, that's not very helpful. But neither do you have to kind of wallow in it. You don't have to. I mean, you can. I suppose there's nothing wrong. If someone says, "Oh, that was a really great piece of work," I don't think there's anything wrong with you saying, "Yeah, I was really pleased with it too."
It is. It just reminds me, just as we're talking there, because I remember quite early, I was quite young, and I remember doing a bit of artwork that I was quite pleased with. And I remember showing my uncle who was around. And I said, "Look, have a look at this. What do you think?" He said, "Oh, look at you digging for compliments." And I remember immediately going in on myself on that one. And,
wow.
And it made me feel it shaped me. I remember thinking at that time, I'm not going to show people my artwork anymore, because that was a nasty response.
That was a nasty response. And actually, where's that coming from? That says more about your uncle than it does about you.
Yeah.
Because really what your uncle is expressing there is that would be his perception of what would be going on if someone said, "Look at my piece of artwork I'm proud of." So that's not at all about what you were doing. The reasons for that are hidden somewhere in his own past.
Yeah, and obviously I couldn't reason that. I was only a kid. I just found it hurtful, and it sort of stopped me going forward in some areas. So it was quite damaging. Where did we get to? Yes, wanting to be humble, because even just saying if your reaction to a compliment, sometimes just saying thank you can feel quite awkward. But again, the research says that's probably one of the better ways of dealing with it at that point, where it's an acknowledgement without being overly arrogant about it.
That's what I always suggest to people. When people have difficulty accepting compliments, it tends to be people who struggle with their sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
But my suggestion is always, if someone pays you a compliment, just say thank you, because you're allowing it in. So you're giving yourself the opportunity to absorb it. So it's not like you're batting it away. So you have at least you have an opportunity to get benefit from it, and you are giving the other person the joy of having paid someone a compliment. It's like we were talking about last week. That's kindness, isn't it? It's nice, feels good.
Well, that was exactly the next part of my notes I was going to go on to. I mean, how do we change things? How do we reframe this? And the first one was exactly that. Know that the compliment is about the giver and not you. And again, I'll put in my notes as similar to how we were discussing kindness last week. So we're on the same sheet on that one.
If someone says something to you, like I said to you this morning, I like the colour of your shirt.
Yeah.
Then I can't be wrong about it.
You can't.
In the same way as if I say to you, I really appreciated it, you did that for me, or that's quite impressive. You appear to be really good at that. I can't be wrong, because these are all my opinions, my perceptions, the way I feel. And I think that's also something important to remember when someone is paying you a compliment. If it makes it easier for you, someone paying you a compliment it's not a statement of fact. It is a statement of their opinion. And when you push it away, you deprive them of the opportunity to feel good about it, but you also deprive yourself of the opportunity to think perhaps slightly differently about yourself. And that is a shame.
It is a shame. And I think sometimes we will look for, especially if you know someone quite well and they're always sarcastic, you will look at it and think, is that a compliment or is that sarcasm? And the people that use sarcasm all the time then have great difficulty in giving compliments out in a manner which is going to be accepted properly.
Well, people who are sarcastic when they're offering you comments, or they're kind of backhanded, or they're always kind of given with a side order of humour.
Yeah.
That's about them.
Yeah.
That's an expression of their own discomfort with expressing their feelings. Because that's what it is, isn't it?
It is.
If someone pays you a compliment, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. It's an honest expression of their feeling. And if it feels awkward to do that, then that's about you.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at also the anxiety that it can induce, which comes up in groups all the time, but that people feel quite anxious about it. Mm-hmm. And the research, I found it quite difficult to find anything positive or concrete on this, but I was talking about reframing the anxiety that it induces. I don't know if you would be able to give us more on that, but it says that your natural psychological response to a compliment is just that. You can't stop it. If you do respond like that, there's no, that's your way of dealing with it. But you can reframe it and look at it a bit more positively. Yeah,
I mean, I in the example I just gave you, that's a reframe. If you feel awkward when someone pays you a compliment, remind yourself that it's not about you. It's about how that person feels.
Yes.
The other person feels so strongly about this particular thing, they want to tell you. So if it makes it easier for you, reframe it so it's not so much about you. Reframe it so that you think of it as something that the other person is wanting to express to you, and something that they will get some pleasure from.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. It is learning about how other people experience us, isn't it? How that we get a little bit of a window, a little bit of an insight into how other people view us.
The other thing, if you do, I'm just kind of thinking about that anxiety. I know what it means. That sort of pang of, oh, this feels uncomfortable when someone's paying me a compliment. But I suppose the other way to think about it, I'm not sure this is necessarily a reframe, but the other way to think about it is the way you think about all anxiety, which is it will pass.
Yeah.
Sit with it. It doesn't have to be a sudden knee-jerk reaction to push it away. That's what we're doing when we're saying, oh, no, it was nothing. Oh, no, don't be ridiculous. That's what you're doing. You're kind of trying to soothe that feeling of discomfort or anxiety or whatever. Don't do it. Let there be a bit of space. Sit with the discomfort. Let the discomfort sit with you. And then you'll find if it's in connection with someone paying you a compliment, after a few seconds, it will pass. And you'll have learned something about yourself. And you'll have given yourself and the other person the space to, as you say, learn a bit more about one another. If you feel uncomfortable receiving a compliment, there is work to be done. Because it's okay. It's nice, isn't it, for someone to appreciate us?
Yeah.
You might not be used to it, but at the heart of every recovering addict is a desire to be appreciated.
Absolutely. But it does take a lot of work because we've spent so many years of feeling really crap about ourselves, and our self-esteem is at that low ebb where our view of ourselves is so poor and it's never going to align with other people's views of you. So it does take a while.
Maybe that is the reframe. If you are in early recovery and you find it difficult when someone pays you a compliment or encourages you or whatever it is, then maybe your reframe is to remind yourself that actually at the root of what you're doing is a desire to get to the point where you want to feel valued, loved, cared for, appreciated. So if you can think about it like that, when you're in that moment of embarrassment and shame or whatever it is that you're feeling, take a breath, just let it wash over you. Because the more times you do it, the more times you allow someone to speak nicely towards you and you thank them for it, the easier it becomes.
Practice because we expect it, and as an addict, I wanted things straight away, and that doesn't happen. You have to get used to these things that are going to take a bit of time, but with a little bit of work, you can achieve what you want.
If you tell yourself that whenever someone says something nice to you, you'll just have the same response, which is a simple thank you. You can almost guarantee that once you've done that for a month or two, it'll feel much less uncomfortable than it did when you started doing it.
There's a little quote that I came across, which very short. It just says that a compliment is verbal sunshine, which I quite liked. I know you're not a big fan of the sun, but to me that's a great illustration. I
don't mind verbal sunshine if I don't have to sit in it.
You have to wear a floppy hat to
That's
accept
right.
a
If
compliment.
I've got a floppy hat or I can sit under a parasol, I don't mind it.
Yeah. Have you got a cover over your hammock? If you take your hammock outside, have you got
a parasol?
Parasol, yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, so I put that up. If it's this time of year, even though it's sunny, it's not so bad because obviously the sun's losing a little bit of its power, although I'm not sure it's going to today. But yeah, I've got it all covered. Both metaphorically and literally.
And Mark Twain said that a compliment can keep him going for a whole month. So we must never underestimate the power of a compliment. But we've also got to be sure that it's delivered correctly. So once you get to that sorted out, the world will be a better place.
So Mark Twain needed one a month.
That's what he said. Yeah. Well, it kept him going for a whole month.
Not too much to ask, is it?
Not really. No. So if we set about complimenting someone at least once a month, I think we'd be all right. We can get through.
Well, that's the other part of it, of course. It's also, if you struggle to receive compliments, doesn't necessarily follow, but maybe you might also struggle to offer them.
Yeah,
maybe it might feel similarly embarrassing or awkward or whatever.
Yeah.
So you also need to practice that, and it doesn't need to be big things. You don't need to be thanking people for, massive favors they've done you or anything. Just little, observations about what you appreciate in other people is enough.
Yeah, I think so. Very good advice.
Thanks.
Well, it's a pleasure.
That's an example.
Your advice is always very well received. Thank you.
Now you're taking the piss.
I see. You've just seen that as sarcasm, which it really wasn't.
That's because I've known you for a long time.
Well, yeah. But I wanted to move on to, unless you wanted to add anything else in at this stage.
No, I don't think I do. I think you've covered that admirably.
Well, I think we got through. There wasn't a great deal on it. I had to scratch around to find bits on it to drag together. But
You didn't accept that compliment, did you?
I didn't know.
Didn't you? See,
I was being truthful.
Yeah, but you then went on, you were kind of qualifying. You were qualifying my compliment.
Okay.
Actually, that's a good example. People do that a lot. You will say to someone, I think that was really great. I really appreciated that. And then they'll go on to explain something that kind of lessens the impact of it a little bit.
Yeah, well, and that was a great illustration, wasn't it?
It was. So well done for such a great illustration.
I did it on purpose. Anyway, we go on to the feature of 100 skills that every man should know.
Oh, lovely! I'm enjoying this. Yeah.
Well, I just went for number 3 again because I thought it was relevant.
There's a pattern emerging here, isn't there?
Yeah, I've done one out of the 100. I've done number 1, 2, and 3. But I think I looked forward. I don't think number 4 was very good. So, but number 3 was being able to hang a picture. Now, I know it was always a great cause of concern for me in your lounge where you had 4 frames up on the wall with LP covers in them.
Yeah.
They never sat easily with me because they were wonky. And I always used to adjust them when I came in. And you deliberately used to unadjust them, didn't you?
No, I didn't. No. I'll tell you. Let me be honest about this.
Okay.
I didn't unadjust them, but they were in such a place as they were easily brushed against as you walk past. So they would kind of get knocked out of kilter. But in truth, even when they were absolutely square on their hooks, they weren't put up properly.
Right,
so there was still a slightly unequal gap between them. You know, if you put 4 squares in a square, that's actually quite difficult.
Yes, it is.
And it's far, far too difficult for someone like me. So I've taken them down now.
Well, I know when I came in last time, which was a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed they'd gone. Yeah. So it was.
I took them down because it just annoyed me as well. I can't stand that either.
Right. Okay.
So
hanging a picture is surprising because we get asked, as you know, as a painter and decorator, people often say, "Oh, can you just hang this for me? Can you just hang that?" Because they don't have the skills to do themselves. So as long as you measure it up and use your, use the correct tools to make sure it's square and to make sure it's level.
Well, in my defence, apart from those 4 little squares, which, as I say, I think does require a little bit of acumen.
It does, yeah.
I've put up a lot of pictures in the house, all of which have stayed up. And it reminds me, though, you remember my father-in-law, my late father-in-law, who was about as practical a man as I've ever met.
Yeah.
I remember I had a picture once and he put it up above the fireplace and he put a massive great screw in. Well, I know it wasn't a massive great screw. He put this screw in the wall and I thought, Zach, I said to him, is that big enough to hang that picture? And he said, yeah, that'd be fine. And he was always great at stuff like that. He put it up and it fell straight down, smashed. Did it? So there you go. Even the professionals sometimes get it wrong.
Well, don't ever trust those command strips. Have you ever tried those?
I don't even know what those are.
Yeah, they're sort of double-sided strips that you can put. They're supposed to be really strong.
Oh no!
And they always fall down, and they often fall down for some reason. They fall down in the middle of the night, so you think you're being burgled. So don't do it. they're not good.
No, I would always secure something in the wall, but then that opens up another fear that I have. Which is, I always think, whenever I'm drilling into the wall, I always think I'm going through a cable here and killing myself.
Do you? Right, okay.
I never think about going through a water pipe or anything like that, which obviously would be catastrophic. But I always convince myself that wherever I drill in the wall, I'm definitely going to kill myself.
Well, you can get a meter which would pick that up before you.
Well, I've got a meter, but some of them are a bit oversensitive, aren't they? And you put them on the wall and they'll tell you that there's electrical wiring everywhere. Although I discovered this by Googling it, that if you put a sheet of A4 paper between the meter and the wall, it brings it back to a more appropriate,
a bit less sensitivity. Yeah. Well, that's a good tip. I didn't know that.
There you go.
Yeah, I've learned something today. So that was that really. I was going to go on to the gratitude lists.
Hang on, though. Do it. So I think we're agreed, aren't we, that it is quite a useful skill to have.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're still going back. Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, I thought we'd done that. But yeah, no, you're right. It is quite a useful skill to have. And it's not a difficult one, is it?
Well, it depends. I suppose it depends what you're doing. But yeah. Okay, good.
I can move on now.
Yeah.
Good work. Right, on to
it was the disparaging and dismissive way in
was it?
which you responded.
Is that the way it came across?
Okay, yeah, go on then.
Is it your turn to go first on the gratitude list
I
or
think
mine?
it probably is, actually.
Go on then.
This week I'm having loose leaf tea.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So when I was a kid, we always had loose leaf tea. Tea was made in a teapot with loose leaf tea from the tea caddy. But obviously, as I grew older, tea bags became the way to make your tea. But recently, for various reasons, I've become more interested in trying some different teas.
Very nice.
And I've found loose leaf is not only is enjoyable from a taste perspective, but I quite like the ritual of it.
Absolutely. No, I
like the ritual of making coffee, and I've now discovered the joy of the ritual of making tea.
Big fan. I'm a big fan of loose leaf tea, yes. In fact, I think my youngest daughter, she bought me a teapot. It's one of those glass ones so you can see through it. And it's got the container in there where you put the loose leaf in and you can see it brewing away. And it's lovely. It was prompted really because we had some loose leaf. Her and I had been down to the Turner Contemporary Gallery in Margate. We went to a little coffee shop and they had this tea. I said, "Oh, that tastes lovely." It was called Smoko. It's a sort of a Lapsang Souchong and Darjeeling mix or something, and it's a blend.
Get you.
And I thought, well, that's lovely. And Lizzie, now she buys that for me for birthdays and Christmas.
Yeah.
I did find also that I could make just a single cup in the little small cafetières. You can do it in that, so you can make yourself one cup rather than a whole pot.
Well, I've got I think my son bought it for me, but I've got a 1 cup tea strainer. So you can put your leaves into this strainer and it essentially brews you a single cup.
Excellent idea.
That's ideal.
It is ideal.
Good. Anyway, what have you got?
Well, mine was actually, this is a compliment to you. It is actually a compliment. Yeah, it's just, I was grateful remembering this week about your advice you gave me a long time ago on procrastination.
Right.
When you told me to imagine how I'd feel afterwards once that task was done. And that's always stuck with me. And that has helped me deal with procrastination because that's always been an issue of mine. And it's something I've passed on to other people as well because I know it worked for me. So I was grateful for that. I was grateful for that advice you gave me some time ago, but it's sorted out a lot of issues for me.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear it's helped you, and thank you for telling me.
Yeah, you're responsible.
Aren't I brilliant? I've spoilt it now.
But I thought it worked in quite well with the episode.
That's very good. I think that might be the first time I've appeared on your gratitude list.
I don't know. You probably.
I think so. I mean, you've had haggis twice, and you haven't had me at all.
Are you digging for compliments?
No, are you your uncle?
I like this. Okay. Are we going to go on to our? I'm going to give you a little music quiz, a little quiz.
Yeah, great. Looking forward to it. Yeah. So I got 2, didn't I, last week?
2 points. Yeah. So
6 is the maximum I can get. I've had a 0 and a 2, so I need at least a 3 this week.
Okay. The first one then was U2. Yeah. What was the year? Yeah. What was the year of their first number one? They had a number one in the UK with Desire. Now, I've never been a big U2 fan. Have you?
No, not really. I quite like some of their early stuff.
I liked New Year's Day. I thought it was great. And that's the only song I've ever liked of theirs, really. The rest of them I've never really...
So Desire feels to me as if it was a bit later than that.
It was, yes.
It was. So it took them a while to get a number one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is going to be really tricky then. I'm not feeling very confident about this at all. I'm going to go 90. 1990.
No, you're 2 years out, mate. So it's 88. That's nil point.
That was tricky, though.
It was tough.
Yeah, because I don't desire U2 at all.
No, I don't. I don't like them. But the next one, this is quite tricky. But this is someone that you and I did see at Reading in 1988.
Mm-hmm. Is it Michael Schenker?
No, it's Joey Ramone.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now, do you know when Joey Ramone was born?
Oh, my Lord.
I know, it's quite a tough
Is Joey Ramone still alive? I don't think he is he?
No.
Okay, Joey Ramone. I'm going to say, this is hard.
It is tough.
1948.
2 points to you, mate.
Yeah.
Well done, yes.
Yes.
I don't know where you pulled that from. I reckon you must.
Oh, dear. That's fantastic. I was thinking would it have been early 50s? But then I thought no, then because then he'd only be 73 now, and I reckon he'd probably be a bit older than that. So there we are.
I did
2
look
points. I need a point here then to equal last week.
You do, but just talking about Joey Ramone, because I looked up that day we went, because we just went to Reading for the day, didn't we, on that occasion? We just went up there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you also remember who was on the, I looked up who was on the bill that day, because I forget.
Was that, I've got a feeling, was that the day the Pogues played?
No.
Oh.
It was, I'll tell you who it was, and it was the Wonder Stuff.
Oh.
Remember them?
I loved the Wonder Stuff. I definitely wouldn't have remembered seeing
I didn't remember
Reading,
this
though.
either. And Ghost Dance were on, which I really loved. The Fields of the Nephilim. Do you remember them?
Yeah, I know them, yeah.
And Iggy Pop.
Iggy Pop. Yeah, of course, Iggy Pop. Iggy Pop, yeah.
He was the
I don't
headliner
remember
that
much
day.
about that day, but then I expect we were absolutely slaughtered.
I think we were, yeah.
Well, if you were there, we definitely were.
You were a bad influence on me. I remember now. The third one was, do you remember Jim Diamond?
Yeah.
He died at the age of 64.
Right.
Do you know what year?
Oh, my Lord. That's really hard.
Won't let you down. Won't let you down again. I'm serenading you, so you can.
Jim Diamond. Oh, I mean, this is an absolutely wild stab in the dark.
Poke in the dark, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm assuming he must have been quite young when he died.
Well, he was 64. I've given you
sorry,
that, haven't I?
he was 64, sorry. I'm going to say 2011.
Oh, no, 2015. So you weren't too far out, mate.
Okay, that's probably better than I had imagined I was going to do. Oh, 2 points. Okay. Well,
that's not too bad. I don't think so. It's not
don't
too bad.
patronise me on the pop quiz.
Just accept the compliment, dude. Do you know what band he was in? Do you remember the name of the band that Jim Diamond sang in? Because that was a solo single that he had. But
yeah, no, I don't. Who was it?
It was PhD. I'd forgotten that.
PhD?
PhD.
Ah. No, I wouldn't even have known there'd been a band called PhD.
No, I'd forgotten that. Anyway.
Did they all have PhDs?
I don't think they did. No, it didn't say, I don't know where they got. It was a trio, wasn't it?
It was
PhD.
a misnomer then, wasn't it?
I think it was a PhD. I think D was for Diamond, and the two other guys were P.
Oh, well, P and H.
Pankhurst. Pankhurst and Hughes. I don't know Hughes.
Hughes Diamond. Yeah.
Anyway, that's it.
All right. Good.
Anyway, I'm popping down to Tool Station to get some tack cloths and some P120 sandpaper, which I need for next week.
Brilliant. Have a lovely time.
Thank you.
See you later.
Laters. Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.